It's fair to say that anybody who owned a PC at the turn of the millennium would have at some point had an experience with an Age of Empires title, and for those of you perhaps too young to have played it, then would have no doubt played one of its sequels or spiritual successors like Empire Earth. Age of Empires came at a time of strategy game infancy and had to compete with the likes of StarCraft, Warcraft 2 and Command & Conquer. However, unlike those games, Age of Empires took a much more relaxed approach. The games were slower and there was more emphasis on research and resource gathering. This made Age of Empires stand out from the crowd, but it probably wasn't Age of Empires that most people remember, but rather its bigger, badder and better sequel, Age of Empires 2, The Age of Kings. In Age of Empires 2, you take control of an ancient or medieval civilization. The historic time periods do get a little bit mixed up, but that's a minor detail. Each civilization has its own perks and twists, on a single tech tree, similar to what you'd expect in games such as Civilization. You then, like any other strategy game, gather your resources to build a base, and in turn an army. A fairly familiar concept. Unlike other games at the time, however, you didn't have access to all your units immediately. There's a snowball type element of gameplay involved as you have to advance through 4 epochs, or ages. You start off in the Dark Ages with only a few basic units, and then when you think you're established, you can pass up to the Feudal Age. This is where you can begin to spread out and harvest your resources faster, as well as get some varied armoured units. And once you spread out, you can then pass on to the Castle Age where things start to get a little bit crazy. You can start to throw out huge castles, siege weapons and powerful civilization specific units. Finally, you pass into the Imperial Age where the very final upgrades are obtained and the most powerful units. So now you know a little about what Age of Empires is all about. So let's take a quick look at the campaign missions available in Age of Empires 2. There are 9 campaigns to play through, 5 from the original Age of Kings and 4 from the Conqueror's expansion. Each features a different civilization and usually involve different playstyles. The first campaign acts as a tutorial as you play as the Celts rebelling against Edward Longshanks. The tutorials are painfully slow, however. It literally uses an entire level simply to demonstrate how to move your units, which is somewhat of an overkill. Although I can hardly knock the depth it goes into, it seems geared towards someone who's never played a video game, never mind a strategy game. The other campaign missions do offer some variety, but usually fall into one of 2 categories. You either get Unit A to place B, or build base and defeat X, and sometimes the latter. Now I would like to state at this point that I'm not going to go into any further details about the campaign, other than noting its nails on the chalkboard voice acting is still intact. Simply for the fact that this game came out in 1999, and so any complaints about it are somewhat redundant. As such, if you're considering buying this game, you're already probably aware of the majority of the content on offer. As such, I'm only going to specifically from this point discuss the changes for this HD version, and try my best to shy away from commenting on things like the derpy AI and the nonsensical unit pathfinding. So, as the name suggests, our friends over at Hidden Path Entertainment have attempted to give this dusty old relic of a game a facelift fit for the 21st century. And what this equates to is the game now featuring widescreen display and... well, that's about it really. And in all honesty, the amount of changes that have been made are few and far between, and some of them are completely pointless. The sprites for buildings and units look a little neater, but that's probably because you're not quite as zoomed in as previously. But other than that, the changes are pretty scarce. They're so scarce that I could probably quickly list them in less than 10 seconds. The resource icons are different, the sea is more detailed, the fire doesn't look like cardboard anymore. The farms now have a large glob of yellow pixel on them to tie in with the fact that they changed the food icon from a steak to a corn on the cob. Yeah. To say it's lackluster will probably suit the situation best. So what else is different from the visuals, you might ask? Well, there are 2 very prominent features that are likely to be the single most important features of the title, without which the whole remake would be a complete flop. Number 1 would be the Steam Workshop. All the mods you could ever want at your fingertips. And of course, not just mods either. A main benefit of the Steam Workshop is it makes it easy to share new maps. As Age of Empires features a highly fleshed out map editor, you can make some pretty wild and fantastic setups. The second important feature is the ability to search for games online through Steam, allowing for a simple and easy multiplayer experience, although it would have been nice to see possibly some sort of ranked play features, but that would undoubtedly mean that it would have to be moderated, which I doubt they're willing to do. I did find online play to be a little bit laggy though. Every action seemed to take a moment before actually being carried out. And well, that's about all there is to it really, and whether the game deserves the £15 price tag is more or less down to you. However, I do feel that marketing the game as a HD version was a little silly, as a lot was left wholly unchanged, or at least for the majority of the changes were unnoticeable. The ability to play online with this classic title, however, is a major plus, but other than the online features, you're not going to get much more than the original game.